to Fight Night Hearthstone Edition, featuring some of the top players from around the world. With $15,000 of prize money on the line, who will go home the Hearthstone champion? This is Fight Night.
Dogehouse or ManaGrind? ManaGrind or Dogehouse? Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Season 5 Hearthstone Fight Night. It's all tied up 2-2 between these two teams, and now it comes down to the ace team format. What's gonna happen? I don't freaking know. We'll find out right after you take a look at how we got here. And with 9 mana, I mean, he's gonna drop the Rag, but even if he doesn't, we know Artosis is dead either way, even if he lands ideally on the Double Sword. Artosis will concede game number 1, just like that. Quick first game. If Artosis drew the right combination of cards, he still could do a lot of damage, but it's not gonna matter. Shocky will end game number 2 with an Eviscerate to the face.
You know, keep that pressure on the board, heal himself up, and Sudoku.
Go out in the most honorable way as possible. Game number 3 goes to Artosis, and all of a sudden, a potential glimpse of hope for the team captain.
Yeah, you know, Artosis saying, "I'm not done yet."
Artosis fought as hard as he could, but it wasn't enough. Jockey ties up the series overall 2-2.
Hearthstone is a 1v1 digital card game developed by Blizzard Entertainment, the company behind famous franchises such as StarCraft, Diablo, and the World of Warcraft series. Currently in the Hearthstone beta, you have the choice between 9 hero classes, akin to the Warcraft counterparts: Warrior, Shaman, Rogue, Paladin, Hunter, Druid, Warlock, Mage, and Priest. Each class has its own unique set of cards that you can choose to customize, as well as a unique hero power that you can use once per turn. Each player chooses 30 cards before the match. This format is often called Constructed and is considered the primary form of competition in any collectible card game. Hearthstone is turn-based. Both players take separate turns to play their cards. You can play as many cards as you want, but be careful not to run out and be completely hopeless. The first person to have their opponent hit 0 health is declared the winner. With over 450 cards currently in the beta alone, Hearthstone offers an array of opportunities to build neat strategies and deck themes oriented around various playstyles. Similar to other strategy games, there is no one deck to rule them all. It comes down to who prepares the best and who gets the draws. Now let's meet the players. From Team ManaGrind, Reels, Dark Onyx, Chucky, and Forsen. From Team Dogehouse, Nyx, Savish, Artosis, and Ecop.
Hi, my name is Johan Dark Onyx Hansen, and I play for Team ManaGrind.
My name is Dan Artosis Stemkowski. I'm 30 years old, and I'm an American living in Seoul, South Korea, playing for Team Dogehouse.
I think my strength in the team is being a good fear crafter. I make a lot of decks we use in the team, and also I play with my decks and prove that they are good enough to play with in a competitive level.
Well, as team captain for Dogehouse, I'm kind of like a leader for the team. I keep everyone on track a little bit. I make sure that we gather all our decks in the same place, that we're constantly talking about what's going on, that we're kind of being smart about how we prepare for events. I think the results between ManaGrind and Dogehouse is going to be really, really close. In fact, I think it's going to probably be 3-2 and 3-2 with each team taking a match. I think all the players are just too good at building decks to have it go any other way.
Hey everybody, welcome to Season 5, Episode 5 of Hearthstone Fight Night. I am Frodian, joined by Crit. It's the first time we're casting this week, but I'm really excited for the last match.
Yep, the ace match is always pretty interesting. It's very different from the others, and it's the one that'll really highlight how well the teams can work together. And, got to see if the guys over at ManaGrind have prepared enough for this, because this is really the main match that you can prepare for.
That's right. And not to mention, it's tied 2-2 in the overall series. So this will determine the overall winner of the series, who will win also $1,000 on top of what they've won, because so far it's 200 and 250, 500, and then 1,000.
That's right. Lots of monies.
Absolutely, YouTube money. So the most important thing to note about it is that there's also a pick and ban phase to what's going on, Crip. Can you explain a little bit of how that breaks down?
Yeah, so basically the first thing they're going to do is they're going to start banning each other. So one team's going to pick a class, and neither of them can pick it. And then the other team is going to do the same. And then in the selection process, one team gets to pick one class, then the other picks two, and the first picks two, and then one.
Yeah.
So each ends up with 3 decks, and this totals 8 different classes because 2 of them are banned and 6 of them are selected. So it's only one class that we won't see play, and some people have a pretty good idea about what that might be. Yeah, it might be.
Because I feel like that's the only class we haven't seen in the week so far.
That's true.
But it's kind of fun to see some variety, because they are allowed to build any kind of deck they want, because if they choose a class that maybe none of them pick, like Mage, then they have to build something completely new. So we're going to do a pick and ban, and then we give them a lot of time to build their decks, and then we're going to have a regular best of 5.
Let's see it.
So here are the rules for Fight Night Hearthstone Edition. 8 players form 2 teams and battle it out 4v4. 2 team captains spin the heartless ESGN wheel, which will determine the matchups. Now the battle begins. In order to win, the player has to beat all 3 of his rivals' decks. After all the players have battled solo, it's time for the final ace match. All 4 players on each team unite in a grand showdown to find out who is the strongest. Ultimately, the stakes are high. Teams can win as much as $5,000 for crushing their opponents. If one team manages to go even further and clean sweep their opponents, the winners will receive a huge bonus reward of $5,000 on top.
All right, it's time for the pick and ban phase. Let's get into the screen and start seeing what Team Dogehouse and ManaGrind are up to. Now, ManaGrind is first pick, so they have first ban as well.
Yep, well, I have no idea what kind of strategy they'd have, so we'll have to see what they do.
All right. ManaGrind has first ban and first pick, so we're going to see what they're up to.
All right. Something's being typed. I think that may have been a well met that ended up getting deleted.
Something along those lines.
Okay, looks like Hunter is being banned.
By Team ManaGrind, that's right.
That's right, yeah. They had the first ban.
Hunter hasn't actually been showcased at all this week either, I believe, correct?
That is correct, but, it's kind of interesting that they chose that.
It's like if they think it's so strong, or maybe they just don't like having the class inside the confines of playing in Constructed.
Well, I think in this position you have to kind of understand why they would ban Hunter, and there may not actually be that much reasoning. But if there is reasoning, you would figure out what they're trying to play, and you'd try to ban that. So, we saw a few letters there.
I think they might want to ban Shaman, because Shaman's performed so well for Dogehouse, and if they can't have it, they know that their opponents... I mean, having first pick and first ban is essentially having 2 bans, because you get to put one class away.
Hunter is pretty good against Shaman just because the clock is pretty strict. The Shaman has no gain life cards.
That's right.
But it's difficult to really say that it favors the Hunter that much. So, I don't know.
Yeah, and it could be also playing into the fact that maybe they want to play certain classes. Like, they are favoring stuff like Priest, and if they felt like Priest was weak to Hunter or something like that, then they would probably do it. But it looks like the first pick will be a Warlock for Team ManaGrind.
So the Hunters definitely do well against the, they're called the hand locks, the control lock, the Giants locks. So, that stuff kind of makes sense. But, when you look at that, banning Shaman doesn't really do much to that. I mean, Shaman does all right against Warlock, but nothing too crazy.
Yeah, and I was kind of surprised that they chose Warlock as their first pick. It's kind of had mixed results here at Fight Night. A few Warlocks, actually most of the Warlocks did pretty poorly. They lost. And I was surprised they left something like Druid untouched, because Druid seems to be widely considered just one of the most versatile and best classes in the game.
That is true, but the issue with Druid is most of the strong cards are in every single Druid deck, so you can fairly safely play around them. And in this kind of format where you can change your deck and essentially the surprise is, the biggest aggressor, it's difficult to see.
Looks like Dogehouse almost has Rogue locked in.
Well, they get to pick 2.
And
so
that's true. They get to pick 2. I think the second one they're looking at maybe Druid as well. And those are 2 very good classes, especially since I think Dogehouse is very confident that they feel like Miracle Rogue is the best deck out there in Constructed.
It might be, but it is one of those decks that kind of plays against itself. So if you get the cards that you need, you're going to win. But if you don't, you're going to perform like Savages did earlier.
Just not perform at all.
Well, you backstab stuff, and then you die.
You prepare for nothing, basically.
Yeah.
So Rogue and Druid are the 2 locked-in classes. That puts ManaGrind on the clock to pick 2 other classes themselves. I'm trying to think of what is still left here. We have a few.
They're probably just looking at the stuff they consider strong. I don't know if their mind has been changed on the Priest, but I think going to this week's matches, Priest was one of their top picks, as we saw it so frequently.
Warrior is also a class that a lot of those players are very familiar with and they like as well, so I wouldn't be surprised to see something like a Warrior either.
Yeah. Actually, Shaman does very well against Warrior, now that you've mentioned it. So Warrior, against Rogue is good, and against Druid, I think, is at least about par.
Yeah, especially some of the control warriors that we've seen being able to really efficiently remove those cards. So I agree. And you really there's just no love for Mage right now, is there, Crypt?
I mean, I don't play Constructed that much, but people tend to think that it sucks.
Even though Trump got to Legend with free Mage.
Well, something like that. He did have some
like
rare cards and stuff like that, but yeah, very basic type Mage decks can do well. But in general, with ranked, it's if you're dedicated, if you play really well even through your losses, you're gonna get places.
Oh yeah, because you only have one chance with your deck here, and free Mage is a lot weaker than just Mage in general, percentage-wise. Might be a little less consistent than some of these classes.
We did speak with ManaGrind earlier in the week, and they did say that we're pretty confident that they were comfortable with all of the classes. So, it's difficult to say whether or not they'll pick some of the, more unusual ones like Mage, but, I don't think you can really count them out on that option.
Let's go ahead and listen into what ManaGrind might be talking about for their picks. Lots of great discussion there, Crypt.
Yeah, I can see the mouth moving and stuff.
How do you feel about some of these other classes that are left? Because it looks like they're not completely locked in yet. Like Paladin or... I'm blanking here.
Yeah, that's because
Paladin, Mage, and Priest.
Paladin, Mage, Priest, Warrior.
Oh,
that's
okay,
four.
Four.
3 have been chosen,
that's right.
And 2 have been banned. That's all of them. So you got them all.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so it looks like they're going to pick the classes Warrior and Paladin. That was a really long declaration process that they were going to do.
And looks like that decision almost went through immediately. The decision is between Priest or Mage. They were very vocal about the Priest deck of the ManaGrind team.
They said it was, quote, terrible.
Yes.
End quote.
Yeah. So the thing is, I think the only player who has experience with Priest on their team on a tournament level might be Artosis.
Oh, Savige also played Priest last time he was here.
Did he? I don't remember.
Yes, he did. He tried making it work, but it was just blindly countered because the decks he was playing was too strong against. But that's only half their team at best, because Savige maybe played it once, but that might mean Artosis might be the one building the deck here for the team.
Huh.
That's going to be interesting.
I think interesting is actually the correct word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be fascinating. One level above
Fascinating.
interesting, in my opinion, Chris. All right, well, let's take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to have the first game between ManaGrind and Dogehouse.
Stay tuned for more Fight Night.
If you don't play Hearthstone, you should really just shut your mouth and reevaluate your life. Fight Night.
When I'm not fapping to top deckin and reckin, I'm watching Fight Night.
We hope you prepared for more Fight Night.
All right, the countdown has finished. It's time for the first game between ManaGrind and Dogehouse in the Ace match. All right, guys, welcome to game number 1. It's going to be Warlock versus Rogue as the first choices.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious just from the few cards in front of us that this Warlock is going to be the control Warlock. You play the Giants, you play the Taunts, and eventually you overwhelm the opponent. Leroy is a pretty interesting card to see in this one, though, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a new iteration.
It's kind of, it actually works surprisingly well because it combos really well with things like Shadow Flame, as well as sometimes just gives you that extra burst, because as intimidating as Handlock can be, sometimes it just doesn't have immediate results. You have to always build up, build up.
Well, we have the Gadsden Auctioneer in hand with a lot of cheap spells, so I think that's a good start for a Miracle Rogue.
It's much better than it was earlier this week for Savage, that's for sure.
That is for sure. At the same time, it seems like for the Warlock, he's got some pretty big stuff, and I don't think he needs a lot of the kill, which I don't think is in his hand right now because the Rogue won't be playing many minions for a while.
Sometimes Rogues like to play Fan of Knives as well on empty board just for the draw, because the most important thing is just loading up on the cheap spells. How much experience do you have with playing like a spell-intensive Rogue, kind of like?
I played Miracle Rogue like right after it was nerfed, so it wasn't very good.
Like the first time or the second time?
Like the big time.
Okay.
And it wasn't a very good deck, but that was the time when people played a lot of Priest, and because Priest was so slow, you just crush it.
Right.
Yeah. But I don't know, it wasn't as finely tuned, and there wasn't that much strategy going on like most of my decks.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was just a...
Yeah.
That was like the case for most people in Hearthstone. So, meanwhile, Team ManaGrind sends out just an Ancient Watcher. They're probably going to drop, most likely going to drop that Mountain Giant in turn 4.
Yep, that's right. It's going to be 4 mana. Well, probably figuring out all the possibilities when Gadsden gets dropped next turn.
They still really want a Conceal to be able to line it up, because just having a Gadsden is great, but you want to have it when you have full mana so you can just unleash the fury of the combos.
When you can't get the Conceal combo, you can just sell for prep if you just want to draw a bunch of cards. So that may be the case.
And the pass is the right case.
There's the Gadsden killer. Well, actually, you have Shadow Flame. You can Shadow Flame the Ancient Watcher into it.
Oh, that's true. Even if you have Conceal. That's a very good point. Assassin's Blade, another card that you don't often see too much in Rogue decks, but it does combine really well with things like Deadly Poison and Blade Flurry. You can just add a lot of damage, because as much as the Miracle Rogue is really fun, you do need to whittle down your opponent a little bit beforehand.
So the Mountain Giant is a bit of a problem for the Rogue. Rogue doesn't run hard removal, and if you don't have the sap, you can't really do it. And if you do have the sap, I mean, it's 3 mana next turn.
Yeah, and right now it's really, really risky to try to put out anything on the board as a minion like an Auctioneer. So
I think you might have to do it.
And just like backstab and try to see what you can draw.
Yeah, I think you backstab maybe the 4/5. Because you can kill that minion with the backstab and the prep Deadly Poison. Oh, nope, going for some damage.
Yeah, I guess they realize they can't really do anything to the state of the board, so might as well just add some damage.
That, I don't know. If that's the way it plays out, then yeah, but it looks pretty bad from where I'm standing.
That is really tough.
Yeah.
And a cold blood, now what they need to drop the auctioneer, just like you're saying. They need to draw some cards. Anything.
Yeah, really anything. I think you auctioneer Deadly Poison. And then you start with chaining free spells and hope you get a Conceal.
But we know that even if you have Conceal, it won't really do much.
Well, you can kill the 4/5, so you'd have to sacrifice the Draper the 8/8 for it.
That's so interesting that, that's... I bet that really also factored into ManaGrind's thinking a little bit. 'Cause they know they have Rogue, they have things like Ancient Watcher. Preparation comes out next. What's in it? Eviscerate.
That changes it a little bit. I think the idea was to double Deadly Poison, take out the Giant, maybe. Or go for face.
That's a very costly trade if you want to go for the Giant. But something that they might have to make. They still don't have Leroy, but they do have 2 Shadow Steps and a Cold Blood in their hands, so they do have huge damage potential. Also, this deck, this Warlock deck, also has ways to activate taunts, a lot of them. They have Sun Furies and Art Defender of Argus.
I don't think we saw any in the hand of the Warlock, though. But we'll see how the turn plays out after this Rogue finishes. Maybe for
it's
a little bit of time.
We still have a 2-minute timer. It's not going to be infinite time like it has been.
Yeah, looks like we're going for the face, I believe.
Here we go.
I guess they also really wanted a Blade Flurry, so that way they could maybe pick out a lot of stuff. Oh, and they Shadow Step as well, so... want to keep the dream alive.
Well, if you get that Blade Flurry, you can deal 14, and then the Eviscerate finishes them off.
Actually, that's a really good point. We have 14, 18 damage with the Soulfire. That's 22 by my count.
That is lethal.
That is lethal. And we said Leroy's a weird fit
6 wins
for a hand lock.
Yeah.
That is something you don't pretty crushing. Game number 1 goes to ManaGrind. They hit level 46. Congrats.
Well, you gotta get that foiled drain life sometime.
Stay tuned for more Fight Night.
Wanna get stoned? Hearthstone!